Hey, this is Ray with the Ray's Engines. Welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be talking about its combinations for small block Chevys. It's going to be a 406 and 383s, stroker 383. These are just some of the combinations that actually work, Dyno proven horsepower, torque numbers that you can use on the street. You can just follow the exact pattern, and then it's going to depend on your tuning on how, if you actually get the exact same amount of horsepower of it. Keep in mind, the RPMs and the torque is going to determine if it's a fun vehicle to drive on the street or if it's just an all-out drag car. So I'm going to explain each one to you and we'll go from there. If you're not a subscriber, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and let's go ahead and get started. First one is small block Chevy 406. On the RPMs on this one, the max horsepower ends at 5,100 RPMs and the torque maxes out at 3,500 RPMs. So this one's going to be a real fun street engine. The compression is 9.5, and this one's got a lunatic cam. It's a 230 and 230 at 50 duration at 455 lift. So it's a very small cam, except it still has a lope, so you'll be able to hear that rough idle just because of the duration at 50. This one has stock Vortec heads, 194, 150 valves, RPM intake, and 750 Holley. And this one right here makes 427 horsepower. But the amount of torque this one makes is 525. So this one is going to sit you back on the seat the minute you get on it. So this one's, as I said, it's a real fun one to drive. On a heavy car, it'll move it too because it's 525 foot-pounds of torque. Down low, where you're going to feel it. This is a good one if you're going to do it on the street. Here's a stroker 383. This one maxes out at 5,400 RPM, so it's a little bit higher. Maxes out at 4,600 RPMs for the torque. And this one's 10-to-1 compression. And this one you can still run pump gas. Even though it's 10-to-1 compression, you can run pump gas. The reason why is because it's a hydraulic rotor cam with 236, 243 at 50 duration, 552, 552 lift. And this one's got AFR heads, 210 runners, which are large, with 208 and 160 valves. It's got a Victor Junior intake and a 750 HP. So this one is also a good one on the street. This one actually makes 474 horsepower. And the torque is 486. So yes, that's a good combination there. You're going to need at least a 3,000 star for this one. This one you can probably do a 2,000, 2,500 max. This one's a 3,000 minimum just for it to run good. Of course, your gears, all that. As we go, just understand the higher the RPM, you're not going to be that on the street. You're not going to be at 7,000 RPMs the entire time. So that's why these two are good combination ones. Even this one here as well. This one's a stroker 383. 5,900 RPMs. As you see, it's going higher and higher, the more horsepower. 4,900 RPMs for the torque. This one's 10.4 compression. And again, you can still run this one on pump gas. And the reason I mentioned this one, you can run on pump gas just because the duration's a little bit bigger. So it bleeds off that cylinder pressure. So you're able to run pump gas. This one's a crane roller cam. So this one's 240, 248 at 50, 543 and 561 lift. This one's a Dart Pro 1 CNC heads, 215 runners, 205, 160 valves, Super Victor, and a 750 Demon. This one here makes a lot more horsepower, 530 horsepower, and this one makes 506 torque. Don't just look at horsepower numbers and say, well, I want a 500 horsepower, I want a 600 horsepower motor. Don't look at that. Look at what you're going to be using the vehicle for. The truck, whatever it's going to be in the muscle car. Is it a daily driver? Is it street and strip? Is it just a weekend driver? Is it an all-out drag car? If it's an all-out drag car, you can do this combination here, which is 7,200 RPMs. If it's a street car, I would probably go with this one. If it's a heavy street car, this one would be great, but I just like the horsepower. I like the RPMs on this one. I just like the combination. Then again, this one's a roller cam. You're going to have to adjust your valves every month or 2 months, depending how much you drive it, how many miles you put in it. And here we go with the 406. This one makes quite a bit more. This one's at 6,300 RPMs, 4,500 RPMs on the torque. It's 11.5 compression. This one's got an Eski roller cam at 264, 274 duration at 50. So this is a large cam. 588 lift. AFR heads 220 CNC, 206, 160 valves, Super Victor, and a 950 HP. This one again, since it's got a roller cam, you're gonna have to adjust the valves. Not something good that you want to do as a daily driver on the street, just because you have to adjust the valves quite a bit. This one does make quite a bit more horsepower. This one makes 581 horsepower. And the torque on this one is 554. So yes, this would be fun, but not so much on the street. Maybe a weekend muscle car that you just take it out on the weekends and just go drag race it and then just drive it on car shows and whatever else. That's what this one will be for, but not a daily driver. So now, as you can see, it's 6,300 RPMs. If you was to do this in the street, how often you're going to get 6,300 RPMs? I mean, that's really revving it up. You're not going to get there from light to light. From light to light, you'll get these two just because it's 5,900 RPMs, but the amount of torque that you get down low, this one, I mean, that's basically a daily driver. And you're going to feel the amount of torque because, as you see, this one still makes more torque than this one at 525. The problem is with this one, it'll fall flat in its face. After 5,000 RPMs, you're not going to feel any, it's just going to be flat. You're not going to feel the torque. This one, you're going to still feel as it's pulling harder and harder, and it constantly keeps going. So let's go ahead and get to the last one. The last one is an all-out drag motor. This is something that you just go out on the weekend and go drag race it. If you want to do it on the street, that's up to you, but I wouldn't recommend this one. It's just because the amount of lift on it as well. This one's 7,200 RPMs, 6,100 RPMs on torque, 7,200 RPMs on horsepower. This one's 13-to-1 compression, so you are going to have to run racing fuel. So that's going to get expensive on you, $10, $13 a gallon. This one has comp cam roller, 276, 288 at 50, and 660 lift and 630 lift. It's got AFR 220 CNC heads, Super Victor intake, 950 HP. This one makes 622 horsepower. Yes, you're almost at the 650, 700 horsepower. Add a 150, 200 shot of nitrous, you're over 800. You're almost 1,000 horsepower if you add nitrous to it. The torque on this one is 475. So as you can see, torque is way low on this one, even at the highest RPM compared to these. So this one will take off real hard at the very beginning, but this one's going to outrun it. This is on all-out racing. You don't want to use this one on the street just because the amount of lift, 660, 630 lift, that's a lot of lift for your valve springs. So you're going to have to replace your valve springs after so many runs, 100 runs. If the motor stays together, if you build it correctly and it stays together for 100 runs, you're going to have to replace the valve springs. So in my opinion, yes, this one's a roller cam. This one would be maybe a muscle car, just a weekend driver. This one would be your best bet because it's a hydraulic roller. And you can daily drive this one. You don't have to adjust valves. This is a flat tap cam. The problem with this nowadays is your oil. They have bad oil. It doesn't have enough zinc unless you get the small bottles and add to it. So here's your combinations. Hopefully this works out for you so you can build you a small block Chevy 383 or a 406. These are combinations. These will work. So it's up to you how you want your vehicle to perform. You can choose any of these, build it, and go have fun. I'm going to do a video on LS combinations that actually Dyno proven as well. I'm going to do a combination for big blocks so you can see the difference on a big block. Big blocks, of course, make quite a bit of power. LS, you can go turbo. Even a stock 5.3, you can turbo it. So hopefully this video helps you, and hopefully you go enjoy it. Thanks for watching.